Let's get it. Welcome back, boss. I'm Octavia Dunigan. Super excited to rock with you again. Listen, I hope you're doing good, feeling good, and looking good because that counts too. I want to talk to you about something. You know, I had a powerful conversation this week and we highlighted the concept of failing forward. That's right, fail forward. This is probably not a new concept or a new term that you've heard, and I don't expect it to be. But during the conversation that I had this past week, it really brought out some things that I really wanted to leave with you. I believe it'll bless you and give you a new insight into failures. You know, I have two younger brothers on my mom's side. I'm the oldest child, and I had a conversation with my middle brother, O'Shea. Shout outs to O'Shea. He's back in Connecticut, and it's so dope when we get on the phone because we get on the phone and we like talk for hours, right? It's one of those kind of like brother sisters but friend vibes, if that makes sense. Love my brothers. But anyway, he's embarking on a new journey, and I won't spill all of his beans. But we had a really, really powerful conversation. I want to encourage you guys, when you connect with people, when you're talking with people, I don't care if it's your family, friends, neighbors, whomever, please make sure the conversations make sense. I hate conversations that are about people, right? Like if we're not talking about people as far as business-wise or advancing or anything like that, like to me, it's a dead conversation. So please ensure your conversations as you are leveling up, right? You're having power conversations where you're bouncing ideas off of each other. And I had that this week with my brother. He's embarking on a new journey, and he's transitioning rather into entrepreneurship. So he's working, he has a good job, he's in a good field, good space, and he's transitioning or attempting to transition into entrepreneurship. So if you're listening in and you're tapping in and you're like, hey, you know, I'm working full time, I got some ideas to be my own boss, but I don't know where to go and what to do, I believe this might work and help you as well. So anyway, of course, he came to me. He's talking to me about his transition strategy or some things that he wants to do or have in place so that he can begin to be a full-time entrepreneur, you know, soon. And we talked about failure. Failure. And I wanted to encourage him as I encourage you because, you know, anything that we try new, whether it's business, relationships, anything, right, that we're trying new, we have to expect that there's going to be some failures, right? Failures. Let me give you 3 facts about failures real quick. First things first, everybody, I don't care what race you are, what age you are, right, where you live, everyone in some way, form, or fashion experiences failures. Period. So if you failed or if you're currently in the middle of a failure, please dust yourself off because you're not the only one, right? I think that's why I'm so tough when it comes to people coming to me with their stories and things that's going on and how they feel like life is against them and people are against them and stuff like that, because I just want to shake them sometime and tell them, don't you know everybody has an issue? Everybody has a problem. Everybody messes up. Everyone makes mistakes. Failure is across the board. Even if you're an animal, you fail, right? Failure is a part of life. So let's embrace that. Let's embrace the fact that we'll never be perfect. Everything won't always work out the first, second, or maybe even third time. And failure is a part of the process, okay? That's first things first. So everybody fails. Second thing, failure usually starts before the action. Did you know that? Usually people start off failing before they even attempt because of their mind. They're already going into the situation with, I don't know if I can. I don't think I can. I'm not sure if I can. I don't think I'm capable. They're better than me. I didn't do it right the first time. Whatever it is, sometimes our minds allow us to lose, allow us to mess up, allow us to fail before we put in action, before we put in work. So I want to tell you, check your mind before you're entering into something new, before you're walking into something new. Check your mindset about how you're feeling, because I'm telling you, how you feel mentally and what you're thinking about yourself mentally is literally what you produce. So 2/3 of the reasons why people are failing is because they failed before they even started. They already convinced themselves it's a done deal. All right. So everyone fails. And everyone, well, not everyone, but some people fail before they actually get started because of their mindset concerning what they're attempting. The last fact I want to give you about failure, and this is deep because somebody brought this to my attention. Failure looks different on all of us. Okay, I told you everyone fails, right? But a failure to me might not be a failure to you. I'm gonna give you an example. So if you guys don't know, I am currently married. This is my second marriage. It's me and my husband, Fredericks, or Ray, depending upon how you know him. Our second marriage, right? My first marriage was almost 7 years from our kid's dad and stuff like that. I'm not talking about divorce or anything like that. But I remember feeling, right, when we were going through the divorce that I failed. Right? I failed. It didn't work. It didn't come to the expected end that I wanted it to. It has to be over, right? It's done. I failed. It didn't work. For whatever reason, it failed. And I remember feeling like a failure. I had a conversation with a church member at the time that I was going to. And I remember talking to her and just telling her, like, I just feel like I'm a failure. And she said, why do you feel like you're a failure? And I'm like, because I failed, right? My marriage is over. Like, the family structure or family outcome that I expected is a wrap. Like, things didn't work out the way that I thought they should. So I failed. And I genuinely felt like I was not just a loser, but a failure. I failed the generational plan. I failed my own plan. I failed my own expectations. I failed the vision. Like, I literally felt like a failure. And if you've ever failed in any area, I'm sure you can relate in some sense or form, especially through breakups and divorces. And you know what she told me that changed my perspective? She said, girl, you're not a failure. Some people never even been married before. You actually are an achiever. You achieve something that some people literally die aspiring to have or aspiring to reach. And I say, you know what? That's true. You know, if I look back even at my own family and things, there's family members in my family, mom, dad's side, that's never been married, never experienced, you know, that realm of commitment or that level of, you know what I mean? Like dedication to a person and a vision for a family. And people, some people never experienced that. And so when she brought that to my attention, I realized failure to me is not necessarily failure to other people. And I think we should check ourselves, right? When we think we failed at something, we lost the house or we got the car repoed or we failed the test, we failed the job. Like, to us, it's a big failure, but to somebody else, that's a huge accomplishment. The attempt, right? The fact that we tried, the fact that we did it, the fact that we can actually put it under our belt for qualifications and experience is a win. That's not a failure, that's a win. And she brought that to my attention. And I hope in some way, form, or fashion, you can relate and connect and realize there are areas in your life where you may feel like you're a failure. Your kids are behaving a certain way. Your spouse is behaving a certain way. That business is doing this. And you may feel like a failure, but I want you to take a second, as I did, and congratulate yourself on the action, the attempt. Because the attempt is a win compared to somebody else's life. And so again, failure happens to all of us. It's universal. You're going to experience it. And if you're not experiencing it enough, I want to tell you maybe you're not doing enough. Because see, failure is in the attempt. Failure is in the action. All right? We got to know that. Failure is a part of life. All right? Obviously, failures happen at different levels. And I want to pick up for forward. I don't want to focus on failure. I want to focus on the forward. Because we fail forward. And I know you're like, oh, how does that have to do anything with your brother, right? Because I'm talking about my brother. I'm talking about the conversation that we had, the power conversation that we had about the journey that he's going on. And I explained to him, you're going to fail in a lot of attempts because you're in a new environment. And so what you do is, as you fail, because you're going to fail as you try, you get up, you learn from the situation, and you go forward. I'm a mother. Y'all know I have a lot of kids. All of my kids started off by crawling, except for Faith. Faith did this random, almost like army crawl, where she never really crawled like a normal baby. She was like literally like half trying to stand up, I don't know if it's because she was the baby. She's still always on the go. So I don't know where that came from, but she tried to skip the crawling part. But normally, right, kids start off by crawling, right? And as they attempt to walk, they use things or stand up on things, and sometimes things are loose, right? If you ever seen a child use a chair or something that's not really sturdy or able to hold their weight fully, they may fall, or the object may fall on them, or whatever, right? Like, there's a lot of incidents where as they are trying to learn, they're actually causing harm, rather to their knee, they fell on their booty, whatever it is, they're hurting themselves as they're attempting to walk. That child may cry, right? As they're using things to try to get up to take off to walk, they're going to cry, but I guarantee you that is not going to be the last time they attempt to walk. I have yet to run into a child. I'm sure there's billions and millions of babies around the world where there's probably one who did this, but said, you know what, that hurt. I'm not walking anymore. I'm just going to crawl, and I'm going to crawl for the rest of my life. I've rarely seen that. Now, comment below if you know a situation, correct me. I love correction. Teach me, help me, because I'm always learning. But from my knowledge, I've never seen a child that literally attempted to walk, messed up, fell over and over and over again, and said, you know what, I'm just going to crawl because it's easier that way. And I want to give you that same energy in regards to failing forward. Whatever you're attempting to do, please know you will get boo-boos. You will fall. It will hurt. You will cry sometimes. But that does not mean that you're not supposed to get up and keep going forward. And I explain that to my brother because if you're an aspiring entrepreneur and you're listening to me, or aspiring builder, dreamer, you want to have a family, whatever it is that you want to do, please know there will be issues. There will be bumps. There will be obstacles, and that is not your sign to stop. 3 things regarding failure. First things first, failure happens to all of us, okay? It's across the board. It's a part of life. It's a part of the process. The second thing I want you to keep in mind is that failure actually takes place in the mind first, okay? Before actions. If you're thinking that you're gonna fail, you probably will. If you're thinking that you're incompetent or you're incapable, you probably are. It's how you think is going to determine the outcome. And last but not least, guys, 3, failure looks different on all of us. So in one area, we might feel like we're failing at something, but we have to remember, to somebody else, that's an accomplishment. The attempt is an accomplishment. The attempt is what gave you the experience. So failure is not necessarily negative. Now, if I bring this back and put it all together, I want to focus on the fact that we have to go forward. Because when we fall and when we fail, that is not necessarily an indication that it is over, okay? It's an indication that we could do something else to have a different result. And as I indicated, the powerful conversation that I had with my brother, it reminded me as I reminded him or explained to him, and then sharing with you, is that we have to go forward. Have to. You guys know I'm in a new era right now. I have been doing acting. I'm super excited about the opportunities that I have completed already and all of the doors and opportunities that are on their way. One of the things that I've learned, and I've really learned from actors who've been doing this for a while, is that when you do an audition, right? You're auditioning for a role or whatever it is. When you do an audition, you leave it there. You leave whatever happened there and you go forward. You don't end your career because an audition went wrong or the director yelled at you or this didn't work or whatever. And guys, apply this to however it fits in your life. Whether it's a job interview, you did that job interview, you leave it there. You leave it in God's hands. If it's for you, it's going to work. If not, that's your indication to do something different because there's something better ahead for you. Forward is action and direction, just like failure. Failure is action. In order to fail, you have to do something. If you're not failing, you're not doing enough. All right? I read a quote, I believe it was on Forbes or through Forbes, somebody from who I guess had an interview on Forbes said this, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I don't even remember the author's name or the person who said it name, so you know I'm paraphrasing, but it's not from me, okay? Long story short, man, if we're not failing enough, then there's no way we're succeeding. In order to succeed, you have to fail at least 3 to 4 times to get that successful outcome in advance. All my salespeople, shout outs to you. I did sales for a season of my life. Ooh, it is not for me. But I love the people. I love talking to people and connecting and providing a solution. But sales has a lot of pressure. They'll tell you, every salesperson, it's all about numbers, right? Y'all know the law of numbers. You talk to a certain amount of people, out of that certain amount of people, is probably one or two that's going to actually commit or, buy or purchase or whatever it is. It's called the law of numbers. And it's the same thing. You have to go through people. You have to go through jobs. You have to go through opportunities. And whatever doesn't work, that doesn't mean that it's over. It means you keep going forward. You have to put in the action. Okay? And to me, your evaluation on success is determined by the failures. The failures don't mean that you're a failure. The failures mean that you're actually a winner because you're attempting, you're trying, you're going out, you're putting yourself out there, you're moving, right? Action. Anything that we do consistently has to produce something. And if we're consistently going forward, we have to believe that it's going to produce the outcome eventually that we're looking for, if not on a better and bigger platform. I felt this. If you're dating or aspiring to date, you're aspiring to build relationships, whether it's friendships or intimate, and it don't seem like it's working, that is not your sign to stop meeting people. That is not your sign to develop walls and accept loneliness and singleness over your life. That is your sign to keep going forward, keep going through people. And it sounds wild because we have to have boundaries. We have to make sure that, I'm not telling you what to do with your body, but you don't want to be giving your body to everybody you meet and things like that until you know. But at the end of the day, man, you have to go forward. You have to go forward in what you want. You want marriage? You go forward. I told you guys about my divorce. I told you how I felt. I felt like a failure, but I knew I wanted to be a wife. I knew the vision that God gave me for me long term. I knew I'm supposed to have a partner, right? So I didn't go through my divorce and say, you know what, I'm just going to be a single mom and just raise my kids and just do this and build my businesses, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I actually did do that for a season, to be honest with you. So I'm not discrediting singleness. I'm not discrediting single parenting, because shout outs to y'all, shout outs to us, because I did it for a season. But at the end of the day, if your heart desire is to be loved, is to be held, is to be valued, appreciated in a partnership, then I'm telling you to keep failing forward. Keep going on dates. Keep going on dates. Use wisdom. Okay, now this date, we just gonna meet in the park, so I'm not gonna continue spending all my money, right? Or whatever it is, use wisdom as you go forward. Let's use the failures as the experience. Okay, that's my last point. When I was talking to O'Shea and I was telling him, brother, you're gonna have some issues. Don't think this is gonna be a perfect ride. Everything's not going to work out the first time. That is not your sign to quit. That is your sign to keep going. I told him, as you mess up, learn. Because that's where we mess up. We fail, we make mistakes, and if we don't learn, if we don't use the experience to do something different, we don't get different results, right? So when we fail, that's part of the journey. When we fail, we have to ensure that we're not just going through the process, but we're growing through the process. And that we're literally able to come out on the other side, a qualified walker, just like the babies, like I told you. After all those boo-boos, after all those scars and marks on their knees or whatever it takes, they can walk. And then they go from walking to running. And then it's that terrible 2 stage where you just want to like strap them to something because they're running and touching everything, right? They take off. And that's for you. After you get through this stage of your failures and your mistakes because you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to manage and you're trying to balance whatever these new chapters are going to come in your life, after you get through figuring it out, baby, you're going to soar. You're going to take off running because you're qualified now. You're experienced now. And most importantly, you kept going forward. I hope I was able to encourage you today. Because if we stop, we can guarantee that nothing's going to happen. If we quit after an issue or a failure, we can expect nothing to happen. If you go on 6 dates and they don't work out and you decide not to date again, guess what? We can guarantee that you will be single. That's a fact, right? If you apply for that job and you didn't get the job, or you got the job and then you got fired because of X, Y, and Z, and you never apply for a job again, I promise you, you're not going to have a job. If you start that business and you make so many issues with budgeting and marketing and connecting with people and the product, you have to keep doing the service over, whatever. If you stop, if you say, I'm done, I keep making mistakes, I can guarantee you might as well close the doors to that business and that dream and that idea. Because if we don't go forward, baby, nothing happens. So get excited about the failures. I actually want to celebrate the failure because the failure is me trying. The failure is you trying. The failure is evidence that you did. You did it. You applied. You tried. And for those reasons, you ought to be excited. I already know it's great things ahead for you. It's time for you to believe it. So keep failing, baby, and make sure you get up. And I want to be right on the other side where you take off running. I'm rooting for you. Let's get it!